Possuk Gimel. Ladaz BaAretz. That we should identify, that we should know. BaAretz, on the earth, in the world. Darkecha. Your ways, your path, your derech, your pathways. Now remember, we're sitting on this kapitel for a while. We're sitting on this passage of davening for quite some time, right? Moshe Rabbeinu said to Hashem, Hodieni no es derachecha. Teach me your derech. Teach me your way. And that's what this pasuk is saying. Ladaz BaAretz darkecha. And the Mefarshim say that when Moshe Rabbeinu said, Hodieni no es derachecha, and this is what, and Hashem answered him, I'm going to give you, Ani avir kol tuvei al panecha, I'm going to give you all of my goodness, which means all of the Darkei Hashem. So now, for the Kabbalists keeping score at home, of course you're all big Kabbalists, you're big experts at Kabbalah. You know how Kabbalah works? You know how Kabbalah works?
Not really.
As long as nobody knows, everyone's an expert. One guy figures it out and he ruins it for the rest of us. It's like everything else. Ignorance is bliss until one guy becomes informed and everybody else is stupid. But Kabbalah, everyone's an expert. Right? Because no one knows. The word derech is used in two ways. Right? There's something called Derech Hashem. The Rambam mentions it also. Derech Hashem, the path of Hashem. And Derech Hashem is the Esesphiris. The 10 spheres, Derech Hashem. The pathway of Hashem are the 10 spheres. And then you have a higher concept of derech, which is what we call the Yud Gimel Middos HaRachamim, the 13 attributes of mercy, that Kabbalistically is from Kesesh, Mahayid and Atzilus. So what does Derech Hashem mean? What does the way of Hashem mean? It means these two things. On the lower level, Derech Hashem means, say, the Hishtalshelus, the 10 spheres, and the higher level, Derech Hashem means the Yud Gimel Middos HaRachamim. What do they have in common? They have in common that the Eibishter made a world with an order. Hashem made the world with a seder, with an order, with a form, with a structure, with a design. In Kabbalah, there's a word kav. Have you heard the word kav?
A line?
In Kabbalah, the word kav. Kav means a line. Kav means a pipe. And kav means a ruler, a measure. In Kabbalah, there's a word kav, a line. Or in other Kabbalah, it's called Yoshe, a straight line. What is the meaning of the word kav? That the relationship between Hashem and His world has a measure. The way Hashem connects to His world is measured. Hashem is infinite. Hashem is Ein Sof. What's Ein Sof? Ein Sof is everything and nothing. Hey, what's Ein Sof? What can you do with infinity? If you had infinite water, do you know what happened to infinite water? You would not be able to drink. Because infinite water cannot be put into a cup. Infinity is as useless as nothing in many contexts. Kav means a measure, a rule, a ruler, a measurer, a ruled. The Eibishter creates the world with an order. And if you're not smart, you translate that as saying Hashem makes the world in such a way that it's limited. All of God is not in the world because God is infinite and the world is finite. But that's really misunderstanding it. The deeper you learn this, the more you realize that when Hashem creates in this world an order, a seder, within the parameters of that order, there's a true expression of Hashem's infinity. There's a true expression of Hashem's infinity. Okay? I'm going to give you a biological example. I'll give you a scientific example. And again, I think I talked about this earlier before Pesach, but I'm going to repeat it again. Okay? How did the Eibishter make every living creature? How did Hashem make every living being?
Through words?
The answer to that question is He made us consist of billions and trillions of tiny units of life called cells. Right, in Hebrew, ta'im. Right, that's special for you. Yeah. Cells. What is a cell? A cell is the smallest living thing. A cell is a living thing. Right? There are many animals. If you've ever went to study this in high school or in university, you know. Right? They divide 5 classes of life right? 3 of those 5 classes exist as single-celled organisms that do not join together to create more complex organisms, whatever they are. Bacteria, they're tiny, they're small little creatures. And these teeny tiny little things have everything you need to live. They have, most importantly, they have an envelope, a wall, a mechitza, that separates them from their environment. And this wall which separates the environment is porous, it has holes. And because it has holes, you can take in food from outside and you can put waste, dispose of waste to the outside. And inside that cell, there's a machine that takes in food, makes it into energy, makes it into cell parts, and it sustains itself as a living thing, right? This is what a cell is, correct? Now, but we are not one cell, we're trillions of cells. Living creatures are made up of many, many, many teeny tiny little cells. Every human being has untold numbers of cells of different types. You have brain cells, and you have eye cells, and you have heart cells, and you have tongue cells, and then you have blood cells, right? Blood cells have the shortest life of any cell. They live whatever it is, 86, I don't know, something like that, and then they die. Every cell, the teeny tiny little living creature, but complex organisms are made up of multiple cells that come together, right? And ask a scientist, ask a biology, why did the Eibishter make that our body is made up of so many teeny tiny little cells rather than bigger ones and less of them? And the answer to that question is, it's biologically explained. There's something called surface to volume. In other words, the smaller you are, the more space there is on your skin relative to your size to interact with other things. The bigger you are, the less surface area there is relative to your size to relate to other things. In other words, many smaller cells is a better method than fewer bigger cells. It's been explained scientifically, and it's true up in Torah. So we consist the ability to interact, to connect. So every living creature is made up of an incredible number of little teeny tiny living things that are called cells, right? To be part of a living creature, you have to have 2 rules. Number 1, every cell has to be healthy. And number 2, every cell's relationship with every other cell also has to be healthy. Correct? If a cell gets sick, it's terrible. If one cell does not know how to relate to other cells, it's terrible. How do the cells work? They multiply, right? The cells make babies. Not like we make babies. They just split in half and you have 2. You split in half and you have 2. The body knows, I have enough heart cells. Stop making heart cells. I have enough blood cells. When a person gets sick, one of the sicknesses is that the body continues to make the same cells. We have a name for that. It's called cancer, right? The body doesn't listen to itself. The individual cells are multiplying out of control. It becomes an illness. It becomes not good. So there's a very interesting interface. To be living, you have many, many, many little pieces that all join together to make a bigger piece and a bigger piece and a bigger piece. And you have to have, each little piece has to be healthy, and the relationship between those parts has to be healthy as well. It's about order. It's about order. The English word organism, I think it's connected to the word organization, although I'm not sure. Order. If there's disorder, it's death. In other words, in measure, in gvul, in measure, there's an expression of Ein Sof. Dafke, when things are limited and orderly, is there an expression of Ein Sof. The fancy word that you would use to denote this is the word tikkun. Ever heard the word tikkun? What's the opposite of tikkun? Tayu. Tayu is infinity, but it has no order, so it's death. Tikkun is finitude, it's gvul, but it has order, so it's life. That's the taich kav. Hashem puts into this world measured godliness, ordered godliness, organized godliness, and within the parameters of that order, with the parameters of that limitation, there's an expression of Ein Sof. A human being is limited, but a human being is really an expression of infinity in his health. Our neshama that comes through our guf, the guf is finite. The neshama that comes through the guf, if the guf is healthy, is an expression of Ein Sof. And that's the meaning of the word Derech Hashem. Hashem made a path. The path is limited, but it's orderly, it's tikkun, it's with a seder. And because the path has an order, it becomes a medium, it becomes a tool through which Ein Sof can be expressed. You follow what I'm saying? You understand? And that's the type of the words. Derech, L'das BaAretz Derech. Hashem has a derech. When Hashem created the world, He created the world in order. The order means limitation. Everything has a time, everything has a place. But in that order, in that time, in that space, there's an expression of infinity. Now let me give this to you by comparison, by comparing and contrasting it. Okay, let me give you two sides of the coin. Okay, you have a community of people, a bunch of people together. Yeah? Is it better that they live very orderly, or is it better there's a little bit of chaos? Would it be nice if everybody has their own space, and everything is very, very separate, everything is very orderly and very, very peaceful, or is better just chaos?
A little chaos.
A little chaos is good, Zakste, yeah? Huh? What's better? What's better? What's better? The answer to that question depends if you're in the Teshuva mode or you're in the Tzaddik mode. The Teshuva mode requires chaos, because the chaos is a medium for infinity. But if you're in the Tzaddik mode, everything needs order. Okay, you have a community of people. You have 300 families living in a community, yeah? What happens if one family leaves? In most communities, they're going to say, "Oh, I'm happy they left. They were a bunch of nudnikas." Yeah. I wish 3 more like them would leave. Yeah. Who needs them? Yeah. Who needed them? Yeah. Who needs them? Yeah. But in a perfect community, you can't afford to lose one, because we're a community. You know what a community means? We're separate, but we converge. We come together to create order. When one family moves away, even if they're the family that couldn't make a living, that people gave them tzedakah, the whole community is messed up. Because the nature of order is 2 things. Everything is separate, and everything is connected. In tikkun, there's no extra pieces, and there's no missing pieces. That's Derech Hashem. That's Derech Hashem. If you live in a community, and people are political, you know what politics means? You know what politics means? What politics means? Politics means I don't need you. Politics means you're not important. Politics means you disturb me. That's chaos. That's toihu. That's bad. Now, that chaos can create jealousy. That jealousy can either create destruction, violence, or it can motivate people to do extra, right? If there would be a community where there was politics, which created jealousy and motivated the people, we would apply to that the word tshuva. You understand? Overcompensation. But there's another model. You live in a community and there is no politics. Why is no politics? Because we can't afford it. Politics is expensive. Can you afford not to like someone in Mechon Chana's dorm? If you live in the dorm, live in the dorm. Can you say, I don't go into that room. Oh, those guys, those girls are weird. Are they? Maybe. But they're part of our school. You understand? In a perfect model, the fact that they exist is proof that they need to exist. They need to. There's no such thing as people that are not needed. The Mishnah in Perek is Ein lach davar she'ein le shah, ve'ein lach davar she'ein le maken, ve'ein lach adam she'ein le shah. I'm not quoting the Mishnah correctly, but there's no thing that doesn't have a time, and there's no person that doesn't have a place. So there's no thing that doesn't have a place. There's no such thing as extra. Nada. If you think there's something extra, it's not only that you're not correctly judging your environment, you're not correctly judging yourself. If you think that you can afford politics, I don't have to like that person, I have to wish that they go away. You don't understand the nature of cohesion. You don't understand the nature of order. And again, the Kabbalistic term that denotes this is the word tikkun. Tikkun means whatever is needs to be. You know why? God put it there. That's called Derech Hashem. Atzilus is called Derech Hashem. The path of Hashem. In the path of Hashem there's limited things. Limited things. But in the path of Hashem, every limited thing is interconnected with every other limited thing in a healthy way. And that is a mashal for Ein Sof. It's a metaphor for infinity, not because there's actual infinity, but because there's infinite order, seder, tikkun. And that's called Derech Havaya. Right? Avraham Avinu, it says in Chumash, Ki Yedaitiv, God Almighty says in Pashas Vayera, I love Avraham Avinu Leman because Asher Yitzave Es Bonav Es Beisi Acharav, he's going to teach his children of Hashem, right? Asher Yitzave Es Bonav V'shomru Derech Havaya, that they're going to guard the pathway of God. What does the pathway of God mean? It's a measured road. It's a measured road made up of many interlocking blocks. Nothing is missing and nothing is extra. That's called Kedusha. Missing or extra is called Toyu, it's called Klippa. And when you have an environment of competition and jealousy, the solution, the fixing it, is called Tshuva. Tshuva is different. It's a different kind of order. It's the order it's higher than order. But in the world of tzaddikim, Derech Hashem means you live in a community, everybody is needed. Every person is very important. You have a shul, right? There's the rabbi, and there's the president, and there's the candyman, and there's the letz, and there's the cynic, and there's the critic. Everybody needs to be there. One person is missing, the whole shul is different. And if the people in that shul appreciate that, they're healthy people. They're holy people. It's not so easy to like everybody. It's especially not easy to admit that you need everybody. But that's called Derech Hashem. In the road of God, everything is needed. Right? The Rambam. When the Rambam talks about Derech Hashem, what does the Rambam say Derech Hashem is? Do you know? The middle. The middle. Why the middle? Because it connects both extremes. Derech Hashem is the center, it's the feres, is the middle. Right? So the modern Orthodox say the middle means don't be too frum. Don't be too frum. But Chassidus doesn't say don't be too frum. The middle means incorporate Ruchnius and Gashmius. Everything is a part of a whole. And everything has a time and a space within the parameters of Derech Hashem. So we're saying, Ladas BaAretz Darkecha, that in this world we should see the Derech of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ladas BaAretz, we should see on earth the way of Hashem. In other words, if this Perek is, and again, I'm pretty convinced that this is the case, that this Perek is about Elokim, no miracles. A miracle's Havaya. Elokim means the godliness of concealment. But when the godliness of concealment is evident, you could see that the godliness of concealment is God. And He gives us Chanina, and He gives us Bracha, and He gives us Aras Ponim. He shines His face upon us, yeah? So the next part, the Das BaAretz, we should see in this world, Derech Hashem, the way of Hashem, Darkecha, your way. What is your way? That this world, which is made up of many pieces, is perfect. Perfect means every piece needs its own separate space and time and identity. And they fit together in like interlocking blocks, like Legos. Everything needs to fit together. You follow? That's like Derech Hashem. Let me give you another example for this. This is social, this is political. Okay, there's a big movement in the modern world. The expression was used by some of our presidents. The New World Order. Have you heard the expression New World Order? What's the philosophy of the New World Order? It depends who you ask. There's 101 different opinions of what it means. But there's certainly a movement that argues that the New World Order means there should be no borders. Between America and Mexico, there's a border. Between America and Canada, there's a border. When you were coming to America, you have to ask permission. And you have to explain what you're doing and explain you're going back. If you say, I want to come to America and I want to stay, you say, wait a minute. America has to decide if they want you. Right? The idea in the New World Order is you need no borders. Finish. The whole world is one country. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Nothing. It's chaos.
It sounds like such a good idea, no? It sounds so nice. It sounds so kind. It sounds so embracing, right? The simple question is can it exist?
On such a large scale.
Can it work? Can it work? I would argue that the biological model that I described before, the human body is made up of trillions of tiny pieces that collect into larger organisms, right? How many pieces are there in the liver? Millions of cells. How many pieces are there in the pancreas, right? But you have one liver, you have one pancreas, and you have two kidneys, meaning if you want to think of the human body as the world, every cell is a person, every organ is a country. You can't have a world full of brain cells, that's not a person. You can't have a world full of liver cells, that's not a person. You can't have a world full of... You have many different kinds of cells. Borders are necessary. And every country has to be different. They speak a different language, they have a different culture. It doesn't mean we have to hate each other. It doesn't mean we have to kill each other. We have to be distinctive. What is the sign of real peace? That I disagree with you, and you disagree with me, and we respect each other. Not no one has any opinions. Not everyone is the same. Everyone sits on the floor and eats rice. Do you understand? It has to be from strength, not from weakness. In a healthy order, there are separations and distinctions and differences. Each one is healthy by himself, and all together collect into a lattice, into a unity that's peaceful. There needs to be many nations, and then there needs to be a united nations, not to break down the borders. And there's so many reasons why this needs to be. There's so many social reasons why there needs to be. I once heard a commentator on the radio say, if God had not created race, right? There's black people, there's white people, there's people with short and stout bodies, tall and thin bodies, blue eyes and green eyes and hazel eyes and brown eyes, whatever it is. What happens if all people be exactly the same? Will the world be better or worse?
Worse.
The answer is worse. Why? Because if you and I are different, then I'm friends with her because me and she are the same, right? So that difference draws a smaller group of people closer together. The cohesion is layered, it's stacked. Smaller groups and bigger groups and bigger groups. The bottom line is it has to work. And the way the Eibishter made this world, we're different. We're supposed to be different. There's supposed to be borders. There's different countries. The Chumash says there are 70 nations. And after Moshiach comes, there will also be 70 nations. And they'll be different. But they'll live cohesively. They'll live in a state of achdus. Not by stopping to be different, but by each one being itself and joining together with the remaining family of nations. That's called Derech Hashem. Ladas BaAretz Darkecha, the way of Hashem in the world. The Derech Hashem, the way of Hashem in the world, is that there is differences, there's separations, there's a wall that separates me from you. And that wall that separates me from you not only separates it from you, it allows me and you to be close. If there's no wall, it's a big chaos, it's a big tumult. That's called Derech Hashem. You follow? You understand? Yeah? But then there's a higher Derech Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu knew that already. When he came to the Eibishter and says, teach me your derech. Teach me your derech. And Hashem said, okay, ani avir kol tuvi al panecha, and I'll teach you a higher derech. What's the higher Derech Hashem? The higher Derech Hashem is called Yud Gimel Middos HaRachamim. The lower Derech Hashem is what we call the 10 Sfiris, the Esser Sfiris of Atzilus. The higher Derech Hashem is the Yud Gimel Middos HaRachamim. What does that mean?
The higher you go, the more division.
It's making sense out of chaos. The Yud Gimel Middos HaRachma connected to Teshuva. I made a mistake. I did an Aveda. And Hashem forgives me. Why? In a world of order, when you break something, it's broken. So there's two madreges in Derech Hashem. There's the Derech Hashem of Tzaddik, and there's Derech Hashem of Teshuva. Ladas BaAretz. On this earth, we should see Darkecha, the Derech Hashem. The first Derech Hashem is the Derech Hashem. Let's call it this word. The Derech Hashem in a perfect world where everybody is well behaved. So we're able to be different and coexist, cohabit. In Kabbalah language, this goes on the 10 Sfiras. It goes on Atzilus. But there's a higher derech. Moshe Rabbeinu tells Hashem, I want to know all your secrets. So what does Hashem tell him? That when a person does an Aveda, and he makes me very angry, I control myself and I don't destroy him. So does Moshe Rabbeinu say, let him die. Who needs him? He's a Rasha. And what did the Eibishter say to Moshe Rabbeinu? Oh yeah? Wait and see. A year later, the Yid sent Meraglim. They sent spies. Remember that story, right? And they didn't want to go into Eretz Yisrael. And what does Moshe Rabbeinu say to the Eivish? Hashem Derech Hashem. Hashem controls his anger. And Hashem, so Moshe says to Hashem, Hashem Derech Hashem. So Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, you told me that I should destroy him. And Moshe says, no. You told me Derech Hashem. So there's two orders. There's two derechs. There's the Derech Hashem. Again, if you wanted to use words of a tzaddik, there's the Derech Hashem of a Baal Tshuva, there's Derech Hashem of health, and there's Derech Hashem of healing sick. There's the Derech Hashem where everything has a place and an order. The Derech Hashem where it looks crazy, it looks mishuga. And the Eibishter creates mishagas. Why? Let's go back to the same analogy, right? You live in a community and you don't like the person who lives next door. You don't like him, you can't stand him. So, I don't need him. What do you mean you don't need him? They have to be. There's no such thing as extra pieces. If there's a human being on this earth, God put him in for a purpose. I don't like him. I can't get say. So you're not conforming. You're not adapting. You're not assimilating into the way Hashem wants us to exist. Correct? So what do you do instead? You become jealous. And this jealousy can result in violence and in destructiveness. But the jealousy can also result in competition. I have to show that I don't need them. That's called tshuva. That's a higher order. You understand? The Eibishter made a world. The world does not look perfect. By any means. The Eibishter made people and I don't like them all. By any means. Why? Because there's a different derech. What do you do when you live in a world that's not perfect? You have to work extra hard to make it perfect. That's called tshuva. And Moshiach comes from tshuva. Moshiach comes not from the lower order, but from the higher order. So in this kapitel Tilim, which is according to our understanding, describing how a goy looks at Hashem's world after Moshiach comes. And he says, I look at Hashem's world and I see the order. Both orders. Both derechs. The derech, if we would all be good. And the derech, considering the fact that we're not all good. And we have to compensate for not being good. We have to compensate for our mistakes. But compensate doesn't mean compromise, it means work extra hard to create a higher derech, a higher order. Right? A Yid doesn't have Aveda. And Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, what do you think, Moshe? If next week Shmer doesn't have Aveda, what do you think I should do? He says, kill him. Now why do you think Moshe Rabbeinu said that?
Because he didn't expect it.
He didn't think a Yid could do an Aveda. Then a week passes, and Shmer does the Aveda, and Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, okay Moshe, I'm going to do to Shmer what you told me we could go kill him. No, don't kill him. I don't understand you. Make up your mind. You understand? These are two different orders. Fanasipur, I probably told you this story 1,000 times. It's a gewaldige Kamais. It's very, very, this story really informs on this question. The third Lubavitcher Rebbe was the Tzemach Tzedek. Yeah, the Menachem Mendel Schneerson of Lubavitch. Tzemach Tzedek was a very big Rebbe. He had, they say, 1 million Chassidim. Thousands of Chassidim. And he was a Rebbe for a long time. He was almost 40 years a Rebbe. And Chassidim came to Lubavitch all the time. And the Tzemach Tzedek scheduled into his schedule Yechidus. You know what Yechidus means? That people can go into the Rebbe one at a time and talk to the Rebbe face to face. How did the Tzemach Tzedek have Yechidus? Let's say Yechidus is from 9 o'clock till 12 o'clock. So by our Rebbe, if you wanted to go to Yechidus, you put your name on a list. And you stood waiting your turn, and you would be one person, two people came, your turn, you went in. Tzemach Tzedek had no lists. People came and pushed. So who do you think got into the Rebbe? The biggest Chassidim or the biggest Bar Yonim? They pushed. There was no secretary. They came and they pushed. If you were strong enough, you got in. So can you imagine standing outside the Rebbe's door fighting to go into the Rebbe? It's like kind of weird. It's kind of messed up, yeah? It's kind of chaotic. It seems disrespectful. So somebody said to the Rebbe, Rebbe, you make a seder. Make a list. Moshe Rabbeinu, on Tuesday you'll meet these 20 people, and on Wednesday you meet. So people don't have to stand and fight and push and come day after day. People used to come day after day after day and push and fight and get pushed out and come the next day because they didn't get in. So the Tzemach Tzedek said, Bazeh Alosh, this is a moed in the Kavod. Tzemach Tzedek said like this. I'll say it in Yiddish, I'll translate it in English. Da kommt einer, was ich darf mehr, wie darf mir. Und stirbt und stirbt und stirbt, bis kommt zum Tier. Und man stirbt immer bis an Wand. Und stirbt und stirbt und stirbt, bis kommt zum Tier. Und man stirbt und bis an Wand. Und stirbt und stirbt und stirbt und geht zum Meer rein. Und der Pfarr darf ich, aber soll sich stoppen. You understand Yiddish? No. There's a man who comes here to Yechidus that I need him more than he needs me. Obviously a hidden tzaddik. I need him more than he needs me. But he's never going to make an appointment. Because no one's allowed to know who he is. So he comes and he pushes. And the Imam comes to the door and they send him flying. So he pushes again. To the door. They send him flying until finally he gets it. He says, I need chaos so I can meet that person. Because in order he would never come in. The Eibishter created a normal world. And then he sprinkled on a very, very substantial measure of crazy. The normal world is one derech. Creating normal out of crazy is a different derech. And Kabbalistically, it's the difference between the number 10, the Esses Yidis, and the number 13, the Yigil Middos HaRachamim. And in these words, the das, Moshiach's going to come, the das BaAretz Darkecha means two roads. You're going to see the order in the world of tzaddikim, and you're going to see the order in the world of birurim, the order in the world of tshuva, the order in the world where the Eibishter made a big mess, a vinaigrette, a cholent, a mix-up. And from that emerges a much higher order. You understand?
But to simplify, there are two orders. One order of tzaddikim where everything is
naturally orderly.
Ordered, and one order where it was chaos and it was turned.
No, and the chaos
Is order.
Creates energy that would never exist in a state of order. Jealousy, when it turns into competition, creates an energy that would never exist if the jealousy didn't exist. So the negative produces a positive that's more than you would have without it. So it creates a different kind of order. That's the matter about tshuva of a tzaddik. It's the same philosophical principle. Okay, so what's the most important word of today's class? And of next week's class? Elokim. The godliness of the world by itself. Yochanenu, Vivorchenu, Yorponov. And then there's La'as Baris Darkecha. It was a nice shtickle this last class. Okay, we'll continue next week. We're stopping in the middle of a Possuk.